But in the two corner towers, there's a collection of particular interest. Pottery dating back to the 12th century. Marvellous earthenware jugs, jars and ornaments that have filled local master potter Wally Cole with inspiration.
They're very natural sort of pieces that were happening all over the country. They're very well potted. They were excavated on the top of Rye Hill, and one presumes that the potter in those days was itinerant, i.e. moved about the country, making for the villages that he was passing through. The whole thing has been authenticated, I think, through the British Museum, and then the site was filled in, which was rather amazing. But they're very fine pieces, I think.
This jug, made in the 1100s, demonstrates how local embellishments have evolved. And this rather pagan and very typical pottery is Victorian. By the 19th century, decoration had almost taken over from function, showing a strong rural influence, celebrating the fact that the surrounding marshland is unusually fertile. The Victorians were particularly fond of hops, which was as well as the local countryside was heady with their pungent fragrance in early autumn. While pottery has been practiced here continuously, it wasn't until the early 1800s that it became fully established. When the Mitchell family started an offshoot to their brickworks, they had at hand all the materials to construct this purpose-built pottery. Out at the back, there was a rather fine bottle kiln, which was fired on rotten hop poles. The pottery changed hands, but as war broke out, these splendid fires were the pottery's undoing. The police decided they were too much of a landmark at night, and despite her pleadings, Mrs. Mills had to shut up shop. This could have spelt the end, but as peace arrived, so did Wally Cole and his family.
After the war, my brother, who was headmaster at Beckenham, heard from one of his students that there was a pottery here, empty, and we had decided that we wanted to try and make some decent pottery at a price that people could afford to buy it and use it, and so we came and reopened.
Lamps, pomander balls, teapots and mementos. These days the showroom is filled to the brim with colourful pottery, almost half of which goes for export. Worldwide collecting ensures that Rye Pottery fairly hums with life. Thousands of pieces are hand-decorated each year. This is called Mallorca ware, and the decoration has evolved again, but hops are still the theme. Here comes another of Chaucer's pilgrims. This is fine, delicate work, but potting can be surprisingly strenuous. How do the Coles manage to find the staff to produce so much talented work?
When I took my first two, they had no pottery experience at all in Rye. I asked to see their needlework. I mean, it rather amazed them to a certain extent, but I reckoned if I could judge their stitches, good angles, or at the same angle all through this, I could see whether they were craftswomen. In fact, I mean, we still have one down here who'd been with us almost 30 years. We found that if we tried to take an art college trained person, they couldn't do the repetition that was essential when you were semi-mass producing. They wanted to do like me, one off.
Wally now has staff to produce the everyday items and has handed over the running of the pottery to his son Tarquin and daughter-in-law Biddy. This leaves him time to work on his studio pieces. Wally, one of the original Bloomsbury set, was a fine sculptor before he decided to concentrate on potting. When he decorates, the designs are usually classic and simple. Unlike his son Tarquin, Wally is principally interested in the structure of a piece. He finds the fun is in drawing out the clay.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm much more interested in shape on the pot side, which comes from the sculpture, really.
And there you have the complete contrast between Wally and I, because I like decorating things. I'm interested in a surface to decorate. He can produce the shape. I want to put something on it. I can't bear to leave it alone. He doesn't want to put on anything on it at all, really, do you?
No. I always say that if the shape is good enough, it doesn't need any decoration, you see.
It's the decoration that sells it.
A lot of them Wally designed over 20 years ago, and they're still selling and selling, and people come back from all over this, all over the world for them, and that's a sign that form is very, very important.
The Coles all agree it's been a huge success, as the thousands of pots awaiting finishing touches testify. And there's another success story down the road at Rye Tiles. Here, Staffordshire blank tiles are put through a slip curtain to prepare their surface for hand painting. Tarquin Cole gave up his career as a naval officer to pursue his love of pottery and ceramics, and in particular their decoration. His delicate floral designs and deft application of colour look disarmingly simple. But this technique demands a bold and positive approach. These tiles are like blotting paper. One mistake, and the tile is ruined. Like many an old master, the Cole family have a number of artists and craftsmen and women feeding the system. And what a system it is. They specialise in individual orders and can advise on design and colour to complement an extraordinary variety of locations.